Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to either make money in this market or to just learn from the market. But first, let me give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. If you could, please like, share, comment, subscribe, because y'all, we learn and we grow together. So with that being said, let's get started. We are looking at the VIX, y'all. And as you can see, we have made a high of 45.56. We have an issue, right? It's a lot going on in this market. And normally I look at the VIX because it kind of gives me an idea of what's going on with the SPY. So being that we have hit this, 45.56 area, we could very well come back down, I would say around this 41.25 area, and find some type of, support. If we should lose that area, we could very well come back to this 38.57. Breaking that brings us back down to where, 36.34. And I'm just going back to where these two candles here, right here, 36.29, 36.34 area. So we definitely need to watch that. Now, if we should break that 36.29 area, we could very well come back down to the 33.42 or the 31.43 area. Now, again, I look at the VIX only because it gives me an idea of what's going on with the SPY. And being that we are so elevated, that must mean the SPY should be down a lot, right? So yes, and I do apologize again. I know my SPY charts are very congested, but I've been charting the SPY for a long time, so I kind of keep those because it kind of helps me, right? So right as of now, we closed at 536.70. We've made a 515 low, but y'all see how we came down and bounced off of this here. It double bottom on this 30-minute chart, only to go back up to get rejected at this 5 EMA as of now. So I always say, where are the trouble places? And y'all know every time I do that, I mess that up. So where are our trouble places as of now for the SPY? If we can get past all of these lines, which I do need to clean this up some. As of now, support is around that 517.80, 517.39. Resistance, we're going to use as our 5 EMA as of now, 522.85. I have got to see if I can make that. There we are. Okay, we're getting it now. Okay, so the resistance I'm going to use here as of now at the 522.88 or 522.88, because it is what's stopping us now. I have the 523.24 marked. Now back to the upside, if we get back above the 523.83, we could possibly get rejected there, or 524.61. should we break that level, 525.84, breaking that level brings us to our ATR trail and stop at 527.21. Should we break that, there's a few layers of resistance for the SPY. I would say at this 527.56, we can come back and find resistance 528.60, again at 529.35, and this 20 EMA is at 529.79. Now back to the downside, I say anything is possible, right? So I would say under this level here of 520.58, we can come back 519.79. Again, 519.21, 518.63, 518.05. What's interesting is if we break this 517.40 area that I have marked, which gave us kind of like this double bottom here, we could very well come back and retest that 515 area, 515.95. Now should we break that 515.95, just know we can come back to 513.34, again at 511.17. so those are support and resistance areas for the SPY today. It's been an interesting ride, right? So let's go and see where we are with Apple today, because Apple has been declining. Yes, so we closed at 203.19. We found support here at this 190.61 area, double bottom kind of, right? And it looks like we tried to go back up and have some trouble here at the 5 EMA. Again, 194.47 is a resistance area for us. So Apple is kind of like trading back in this zone again. So support is around 190.33, or yes, 190.33, 190.61 is what I had marked, and resistance is around the 196.93. However, the 5 EMA is what's holding us up from moving forward. Now back to the upside, trouble places again, 196.93. ATR trail and stop is at the 197.36. And should we break that level, y'all, we have trouble here at the 20 EMA at 198.82. Breaking that brings us back to $200.83 for Apple. Should we break that, we could possibly have trouble at $200.59. And y'all see, I'm going to mark this zone here because price, let's see, here. Do you see how close this is to this 200 EMA? We would not have known that, but we could have just marked our levels with just the, marking the gray lines or marking the lines here as support and resistance. We know Apple stayed in this area, so in the future we're going to need this to know this area, so that's important that we mark that. Just wanted to point that out. Some little charting tips, right? So above this 202.03 area, 202.59 for Apple. If we should break that, 205.76, and breaking that brings us back to around the 206.75. Should we break that 206.75? Not saying I see that as being possible today. Anything, let me rephrase that. Anything is possible, right? Above 209.77, 211.93 could be a trouble place for Apple. Now back to the downside. Should we break under this level 190.61? I have 189.55 again at 187.38. Should we break the 187.38, we could possibly have trouble. 182.37. Should we break that, 181.47 and 177.94. And what's interesting is if we break that 177.94 area, there's a few layers of support. So I would watch down to the 176.32. So if you're trading Apple today, those are just kind of some areas to the upside and to the downside. Again, y'all, I say not financial advice. Anything is possible in this market, right? So if we're now looking at AMD, we closed at $93.80, and we have come down and found some support around this $87.50 range. So it looks like we've kind of doing kind of like the same thing, double bottom back to the upside. 5 EMA is our rejection area as of now, and back to the upside. If by chance we break above this 89.96, we could very well come back to this 91.23 as a trouble place. If we should break that area, we can come back to around $91.90, and if we break that 91.90, 92.69. If we break the 92.69, we can come back to, let's say, around 93.36, and if we break the 93.36 area, 94.04. If we break that 94, well, before the 94.04, we have 93.97. So 93.97, 94.04, not far away. And I would say y'all trade carefully today. This market is going to be interesting, right? So if you're trading AMD today, those are kind of like areas to the upside that we could possibly, have resistance. We are well under the levels that I have marked, so I definitely need to go back and do some more digging with AMD. That what's interesting is we are down. AMD normally moves $4.61 per day. Considering we've already declined a lot pre-market on a lot of our levels today, I would say be careful because we could very well go back and fill that gap back to the upside. Again, not financial advice. However, I have seen it happen a lot of times pre-market. We sell off and only to go back up in the, as soon as the bell rang. I always say when the bell rings, it's go time, right? So Meta, we're now looking at Meta. We closed at 531.62, and it too has come down, y'all. I mean, yes. So this is our support area at 504.17. If by chance we break back to, above 509.86, we could possibly have trouble. This is our zone as of now. We could possibly have trouble at that 509.60. That is our 5 EMA, and it's kind of like breaking us out of a gathering spot back to the upside. If by chance, we break that level, we can come back to the 520.55, which is our ATR trailing stop, and our 20 EMA. So that's going to be strong resistance in my opinion. Should we break that, we could possibly have trouble 523.38, and if we should break that level for Meta, we could possibly have trouble again 529.02, and if we should break that, 532.18 could be a resistance area for us. Breaking the 532.18, I would watch the 535.12. So if you're trading Meta today, those are areas back to the upside that we could possibly find, have a little trouble. So if you're trading Meta today, I always say y'all trade carefully. And once it goes against your why, get out. I say so often, live to trade another day. Now what's interesting is if we break this 504.17 area, looking at it on this 1 hour chart, we can come back and find support at that $500.05. If we break the $500.05, we have to definitely be careful, right? Because we are under some levels. Meta was trading kind of like sideways for a while, and then it broke down. So keep in mind there is going to be a gap between this area and here that will possibly need to be filled again. Not saying that that's going to happen today. So Meta again normally moves $23.76 per day. That is in either direction. So if you're trading Meta today, those are kind of areas that I would watch back to the upside. I'm not saying that that's the case today, but we have had a nice decline. So let's go and see where we are with Microsoft. It too looks almost like the Meta chart, right? So like we have found support down here at the 355 area. Yes, around the 355 area as a support. Now back to the upside above the 5 EMA, 360.03. If we should break that, 363.07, not far from the ATR trailing stop. Breaking that level brings us back to around the 365.86. Should we break that, we could possibly have trouble at the 368 area, which is where our ATR trailing stop was. So we've broken through that back to the downside. That 368 now will be a resistance area for us. Now for Microsoft, if we get back above the 368, we could possibly have trouble at 369.15. If we should break that level, just know 370.02 and breaking that level 371.88. Now can we continue declining? We very well can. It looks as if, we've already come down a lot for Microsoft, so we could very well come, when the market, again, when the bell rings, we could very well go back and recover some of that. Again, not guaranteed. So under 355, let's go and see where we could possibly have some trouble, and I'm not seeing that. So around under the 355 area for let's say, yes, under the 355 area. Let's see if we can find that's well under. So we definitely need to watch. We are under the September 23rd low for Microsoft. So that's, and I said Meta. So, and we have to be very careful with that because we are definitely declining. So if you're trading Microsoft today, those are areas that I would say I would watch carefully. So let's look at Netflix. Everything is just well under. Netflix normally moves about $32.81. This is the daily chart for Netflix. So Netflix is one that I normally chart a lot. So it too probably looks like Tesla and SPY charts. But what's interesting about Netflix is we have a green hammer here on this 30-minute chart. So is that going to give us a possible back to the upside, considering we closed at 917.05, made a low of 886, which is interesting. Now back to the upside, trouble places 897, 838, $900.07, 905.02, 908.69. and breaking that 911.18. If we should break that, 914.80, breaking that level brings us back to 921.24, and if we should break that, 925.49 is the 200 EMA as of now on this 30-minute chart. Should we break the 886 area for Netflix, we could very well come back to the 887.24, breaking that 867.91 and 865.39. So if you are trading today and Netflix is on your list, those are some of the areas to the upside and to the downside. This is going to be an interesting day, let me say that. So we are now looking at NVDA. We closed at 101.80. Now back to, this is our, let's say support is was around the $97.04. And yes, it is there. So I'm going to mark this level here because I need to remember that. So support is around the 97.04, resistance around the 97.80, and as you can see, that's kind of like in the zone that we're trading in as of now. Should we break back to the upside, we could possibly have trouble $98.49. If we should break that level, 99.35, and breaking that brings us back to $100.18. For some reason, I think it's the $100.14 that I remember for one of them. So if we should break up beyond that $100.18 for NVIDIA, we could possibly have trouble again around $100.93. If we should break that area, 101.69 could be a trouble place, and keep in mind that's not far from the 50 EMA as of now at the 101.97 area. Should we break that, 101.97, 102.46 could be a trouble place, and if we break that level, 103.62 could be a trouble place for NVIDIA back to the upside. And y'all know I say so often, in this market anything is possible. So should we break this 103 62 area, we could very well come back to 105.10 and again at 106.06, which is the 200 EMA on this 30-minute chart. Now back to the downside for NVIDIA, breaking under the level of $95.36. We could possibly have trouble $91.54. Should we break that level to $87.30, could be a support place for us. So if we break that $87, and 30 cents, let's see if I have another level marked. 87.30. Let's go to the, yes, 87.30 was the level that we, yeah, 87.30 is the level that I have as a support area. So it looks like we are in some areas that I need to go back and definitely do a little bit more research, because we have some serious, we have had some serious declines, y'all. So I say so often, and then in this market, anything is possible. So if you're trading today, I said trade carefully, and don't think that just because it's down that we cannot continue declining. We very well can continue declining because of what's going on with the news and the tariffs and different things like that. So the market is, people are selling off or getting out until they get a clear direction as to which way the market wants to go, and that's normally how it's supposed to be, right? So as of now, we're looking at Palantir. We closed at $83.60. It looks like a support was around the 77.50 area. We bounced from there, as you can see here, double bottom on the 30-minute. A lot of them has been bouncing off of support levels. So is that going to take us back to the upside? If by chance we break above 79.81, we could possibly have trouble again. $80.80. $81.48. Breaking that level brings us back to 82.18. And if we should break that, 82.79 for Palantir. If we should break that area, 83.55. And as you can see here, the 200 EMA is at $84.13. So if you trade Palantir, those are areas to the upside and to the down. Now let's look to the downside. Under 77.50, we can come back and retest that $77. Breaking through that will be a level of support that we need to watch. Under that, 75.53 could be a support area or around that area. 74.51, should we break that, 72.37. So if you're trading Palantir today, those are areas to the upside and to the downside. Again, not financial advice, y'all. This is going to be a very interesting day. It is Friday, so that means anything is possible, right? So let me point out something for Tesla. Tesla was trading sideways for a long time, so that told me that it was going to make some type of move, and it chose to the downside. Sometimes it goes to the upside. Either way, Tesla closed at 267.28. We have made a low of 245.97. Now what's interesting about that is, we have been at this 245 area. We bounced off of that. It has given us kind of like the double bottom back to the upside. Resistance as of now is at the 253.30, which is the 5 EMA. Now back to the upside, where are the trouble places for Tesla? Let's see if we can make that a little bit. Yes, back to the upside, we could possibly have trouble here at the 253.47, breaking that level. 254.76, breaking that. 256.33, should we break that? 257.19 area. Keep in mind there's a few layers of resistance there. Should we break that? 258.09, should we break the 258.09? 259.81 could be a trouble place. Breaking that level brings us back to around the 260.70. Keep in mind the ATR trailing stop as of now is at the 261.34. Now back to the downside for Tesla. Because we are on this down does not mean that we cannot continue declining. So let's go back and see where our trouble places are to the downside for Tesla. Should we break under this level here of 245.97, we could very well come back to 244, find support. If we should break that, 242.66, and breaking that level, 241.85. Should we break that, 240.72, and again here at 239.49. And I wanted to make that a little bit visible because Tesla and the SPY is one that I like to chart I've been charting for years, so I kind of keep my levels there because it kind of helps me, right? So if you are trading today, these are areas us to the upside and to the downside. And y'all know I say so often, in this market, anything is possible. Nothing is guaranteed. Set your stop losses or whatever it is that you choose to use, and make sure that you have the discipline to execute that. Again, y'all, I hope that everyone have an awesome day, a very productive day today. If you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that, y'all, because we learn and we grow together. So until next time, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.